Blizzard fans, welcome to the third episode of the Cold Front podcast. I'm Joey Bonadonna alongside BJ, Steffen, and BJ, obviously a little bit of a different format, but we're going to bring all the same content to you here this week. The Blizzard are 2-0 for the first time in their history in being in the IFL. It seems crazy to say, but what a whirlwind of the first 2 weeks that this team's been able to go through, and through all of it, to get to 2-0.
Yeah, honestly, if you told me this to start the season, we'd be 2-0. I don't know if I believe you, right? Not just the fact that we're playing Vegas week 1 and pretty similar matchup compared to last season. And then after Fisher's really good game, their first week, that we'd get a solid win there. 2-0 felt, it's kind of surprising.
And you talked about the quality of opponent in the first two. Vegas, obviously the defending IFL national champions. Fisher's Freight coming off of a great win in week 1 when they really took control of in the second half. And I'm sure we'll talk about that here as we break things down. But it is quite a resume to have a win over those two franchises. Let's jump right in to the Squall Report here for this week and talk about this week's game against the Freight. Once again, right out of the gates, the defensive line is wreaking havoc, and I think that's ultimately, for me, that's what allowed Green Bay to open up that big first half lead. There was just nothing that Fisher's offense could do to get things going.
Yeah, Fisher's offense against Quad Cities was heavy rush, and it just wasn't a factor in Sunday's game. Saturday's game.
I know days of the week are confusing.
Right. Yeah. Especially with our other game moved. And but yes, it wasn't really a factor, right? Josiah King, we held him to what? Under 100 or not even 100 yards. I should have had this pulled up already. But I don't even have it pulled up. So, I mean, it just wasn't a factor. Our D line was all over the place. We had multiple picks, right? One we got called back, but our defense just looks incredible this year.
And that is a huge turnaround when we talk about Corey Roberson, obviously a defensive-minded head coach. That changed a little last year. It was a little bit of the offensive show, and obviously kudos to Matt Barrett, and obviously getting the assistant coach of the year honors last year. MVP quarterback, great offensive line. You've got a great receiving core. That was 2025, 2026. Offense is still there, but it's back to that focal point that you talk about with Corey Roberson-led teams. The defense is the name of the game. That's kind of what we saw in 2024 when you had Defensive Player of the Year in Ravarius Rivers, and you had a great play in front of it. That defensive line, I think it's got to be talked about as one of the best units in the IFL, and I think it is being talked about in overall one of the best individual position units across the entire league.
Yeah, 100%. 2024, our defense was number 1 in the league. 2025, I think we dropped to like 10th, if I remember off the top of my head. And this year, I don't know what we're currently ranked, but you could make the argument we're the best defense in the league right now. A lot of things to still work on, right? But for right now, we're 2-0, and we're the only 2-0 team in the league, and you can't be disappointed with that.
Let's talk a little bit about the offensive side, because we do have to throw things back to the defense. But offensively, Liam Thompson, I will have to say, looking at the stats post game was a little jarring, seeing 8 of 20. But when you almost have the same amount of total touchdowns as you do completions, I think he did all right. He had 7 total touchdowns in this one, 3 through the air, 4 on the ground. Just another great performance from the new QB1.
You just can't stop his running game. It was one thing we had a couple years ago with Jerome Johnson, and Max slowly started turning into a running quarterback as well. But Liam's doing both right out the gate. And there's been, you mentioned 8 of 20, so a little bit of work there, but it doesn't matter when you're throwing, when you have 7 touchdowns, right? So you can't be disappointed. No interceptions, knock on wood, no fumbles, no nothing. So he's been playing very clean football so far.
Yeah, not only that, the passing game's been really balanced. I mean, you've seen Drayshawn Hudson get to go on the deep ball. Trayvon Alexander's been really good in the red area. We'll talk a little bit about that, and I'm sure we'll highlight a little bit next week as well. But it really is a balanced offense. There's versatility in this group, which was really exciting to see in that skill position group. The offensive line, it continues to be as advertised. Andrew Carter in the middle, Jaime Navarro on the right side, Dakota White on the left. Things are clicking, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, as we get along with the episode, with the first half versus the second half. But with how electric the first halves have been, hey, it has been a really strong start to this 2026 season for the Blizzard. But let's swing things back to the defense, because we hyped up that defensive front. We got a chance to talk with Jonathan Ross after the game on Saturday. Ended the Vegas game with a forced fumble and started the Fishers game with another forced fumble recovery, rather, mind you. But let's get a chance to talk with him and what his thoughts were after that second game against Fishers.
We're here post game with Jonathan Snake Ross. A couple of weeks into the experience here in Green Bay and a couple of wins. Tell me about this defensive line group, because they just wreak havoc, it seems, every drive.
Honestly, I love it. I love how we just work together. We really gel really well. One of us might be a twitchy guy, but we got a power guy as well to come in. So I just love the fact that we just push each other and really make each other better.
Now, you come over with a good crew of guys coming from Bay Area.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit of how those guys have been able to bond together, and also tell us how that's kind of able to work with the greater group here in Green Bay.
Yeah, I feel like we got great guys that actually came with us from Bay Area. So they came in just willing to buy into the new system, new team, and just gel with the guys we have now. I love us. We are a family. I love that Coach Robeson, he just harps on every man doing his job, every man just blending together. It's a brotherhood at the end of the day, so loving it.
Now, tell me the last play of the Vegas game and the first defensive stop here against Fishers, kind of just seem to have a nose for the football. What's the mentality on plays like that?
Honestly, it's just God just putting me in the right places, honestly. And then us just trying to just do whatever the game plan is and just dominate, every play. And it just so happened, it just came to me. So just got to be in the right position. That's pretty much it.
Awesome. We appreciate your time and enjoy the bye week.
Yes, sir. Will do. Appreciate you. Yes, sir. Thanks.
Yeah, Snake has been a phenomenal addition to this group. Really excited. You can tell just the personalities of this group. They're meshing. We talked a little bit about with the Bay Area guys coming over, but it really does feel like not even a month into this with camp and everything, this group seems very tight knit.
I mean, that's just having 8 players that have already played together. Most of them played all season last year. And it's the biggest difference for Green Bay this year. Most years we're bringing in a lot of rookies, a lot of guys who've never played, maybe 1 or 2 returning guys from the Green Bay front. And this year, looking at 7 or 8 guys from Bay Area. You brought back 4 from Green Bay. That's half your roster already. And I think that's been the biggest key for early success so far.
We'll jump into our icebreaker. No opponent this week, because we didn't allude to this. We're going into a bye week. But we did get a chance to talk with Jason Fitz, who was on the call this past week for Yahoo Sports. I was happy to be on the broadcast with him. Sideline reporting. It was us. It was me, Jason, Curtis Riggs, former Sioux Falls Storm head coach, IFL Hall of Famer. I do have to say, and not to get into a bit of a side tangent here, I did give him a little dig that he only had 1 coach of the year in the IFL, Corey Roberson and Dixie Wooten. The head coaches only had 2. He was running with that. I should have made the coach of the year joke. He's the IFL Hall of Famer. That's kind of the irony, though, BJ, is that Curtis has won 11 championships. He's an IFL Hall of Famer. But yeah, with those expectations, he only ended up having 1 coach of the year over his career. So I do have to address that, Curtis, if you did tune into this. That that is the irony of the joke that we had. But Jason was great. Jason got to throw out the game ball delivery from press row. Impressive row. I did give him a few pointers. Don't throw down, throw out, because obviously it's still in the bowl, but it is a little, however, 27, 30 rows above the field. Don't throw down across them, throw out, and let physics take care of the rest. So, that it made it to the logo. I'm sure we've got the video of him saying that was a good throw for me. He had a couple test tries. We were talking before the game, just put it in JT. JT has been great in being he handles the game ball. Just put it in his area code. He airmailed a little bit, because I think maybe there was a little bit of underestimating that he got that thing out there to midfield. But getting a chance to talk to him and his experience with the broadcast and the Rush Center. He was in Fishers last week. BJ, you talked about the environment that was out there in Fishers in week 1. Now he got a chance to come to Green Bay. He was excited. He's been excited about the IFL. Getting a chance to talk to him here this week was great.
How was your reaction to the Rush Center and the environment here in Green Bay?
I mean, I have a lot of history here from playing here with the band. It's an incredible room. It's just an incredible place, and the fandom is so real and it's so connected, and the fans were a huge part in the first half, and then at the end of the game, too, they had to come up big. So, 2 for 2 on my fans' experience of seeing fans just come out and absolutely crush it. You can see the connection that indoor football has with the local fan base. It's a really special thing.
Yeah, you're in the game at Fishers last week, here in Green Bay this week. But you said you've been here before. Tell us a little bit about your story and the opportunity that you've been here in this building in a bit of a different spotlight.
Yeah, no, I used to be the fiddle player and musical director for a country band called the band Perry. Most famous, If I Die Young, was our biggest hit. We were lucky enough to have a bunch of country music hits, and we toured. I was able to tour the world and see the world. And every time you tour, like you have a little app called Master Tour that tells you where you're going. And so like you look in there and you see Green Bay, and you immediately know Resh. Like that's where you're playing. So for me, when I got the call and they're like, hey, can you do a Green Bay game? It's special for me because this building is a place that I've stood on stage many times. So it's cool to have a place that meant something to me in my music career now be part of my meaningful journey in my sports career. So
the horn going off here for the 5th quarter. Fans on the field, you talked about a little bit how they impacted this game. What kind of, you mentioned the Fishers environment last week, you mentioned the Green Bay environment this week. What is so exciting about the IFL and the intimate relationship they have with their fans and being able to make them such a big part of the game?
I think so far in my experience, it's generational, right? Like, so anytime you get kids involved with parents, it just hits different, and you can see that with everybody now. And then even like tonight, like the guys are feeding off of it. Like so often we see guys do this, especially in NFL games. You're trying to get everybody. Tonight it felt almost like the opposite. In the second half, when Fishers went on a run, and that felt like it needed a little spurt of energy, like coming into that 4th quarter, I think the crowd did a great job of really lifting up the Blizzard and really finding a way to sort of get those guys fired up at the end.
What's got you so amped about the IFL here in 2026?
Just the overall game is so much fun. Like, we live in a society, deep think for a second. We live in a society where movies are returned to directors because they'll tell you literally it's too complicated. Like second screen, everything has to be second screen, meaning that you have to be able to watch a movie and be on your phone at the same time, right? Like, so in the 80s, you could just pass somebody a drink and it was on the movie screen. Now it's in the dialogue, hey, pass me that drink, because they know nobody's watching anything, right? Like, it's so easy for people to tune out. What's incredible to me is that you can't tune out of this game because every single drive really does have such meaning, right? So it takes the speed and frenetic energy of the NBA, it takes the chaos of one moment of the NHL, and it combines it all with football. And that, to me, just becomes such a special, like, this game was a butt whooping at halftime, and the entire second half we weren't sure how it was going to turn out. That just speaks to how in 2 or 3 minutes of real time, all of a sudden a game completely flips on its head. That's a level of electric connection that makes me want to stick in and watch every second.
Well, Jason, we appreciate the work you've done with your platform to keep raising the IFL, and can't wait for a continuation, another great 2026 season.
Man, everybody's going to have a tough time competing. Like, so far, Fishers, Green Bay, both great crowds. It's going to be like, I'm headed to Arizona next. They better bring it.
All right. Well, appreciate your time, Jason, and we'll have a great run the rest of the season.
Note his shoes. His shoes were great on the sideline. His shoes were fire on the sidelines. I would have worn tennis shoes. I'm just saying.
Best dress. Come on.
All right, that was Yahoo Sports' Jason Fitz. He was on the broadcast here this week. BJ, what have you kind of taken away from the again, been able to be in the building for the first two, so you haven't seen any of the Green Bay broadcasts, but the broadcasts around the league, what have you kind of taken away from those?
They've been really clean so far. There's been a little hiccups here or there. I think the media breaks have been a little long for in-person viewing, at least. I know the Fishers game had some that were running, 4 minutes, and you could hear the crowd kind of shift towards the end of the game. Green Bay's was pretty good. I know Overnight had a little bit of issues last night, but it got fixed pretty quickly. So and it's early, right? It's week 2. A lot of these teams haven't even played yet, haven't had a broadcast yet. So it's been a great partnership for the IFL so far, and it's made viewership hopefully go up, but it has been making games watchable easier.
Yeah, I've got a couple of those sideline reports myself. So I think that making sure that we get those media timeouts rolling, that can kind of be on us sometimes to kind of get that rolling, keep things moving. We're on the field. We got to say our words and whatever, but sometimes there's football that's got to be played, and we got to make sure the football is getting played too. But after getting a chance to talk to Jason, let's jump into our Talking Blizz this week. Another returner from the 2025 Eastern Conference Championship squad, and that is defensive lineman Alan Henry. Getting a chance to talk again, this defensive line, it's deservedly is getting its highlight here in this third episode after the 2 weeks that they've had. Alan was a big anchor of what that group was able to do last year, and he's been again great in carrying over here into year 2 in Green Bay. Let's talk to him and a little bit about his story and some fun facts about him.
Here for Talking Blizz with Blizzard defensive lineman Alan Henry. Alan, coming back here for year 2 in Green Bay, and tell me a little bit about this group and the decision to come back here in 2026.
Man, we set a real high standard last year, and I knew we could come back and capitalize and make history, and make a name for ourselves. So I was bought in. It wasn't hard.
Being able to have that bounce back, what's it been like for this group of returners with that mindset of knowing where last season ended and now the goal is here for 2026?
We're hungry. Like we was inches away last season. So we know we capable of it. We also know what's possible. Like last year it was good, but I think we're gonna be real special this year. So we're hungry.
The big theme that we've been talking about with this group, it's the defensive line and how talented it's been, the good rotation you guys have had. Yeah. What have you seen out of that group? Some newcomers, some returners, but how's that bond been with the guys up front?
Oh, it's great. It's like our energy, we feed off each other, because you got one group of guys that's going to make something good happen, then the next group of guys, you get the same thing, so it's contagious. I'm lost for words. We good. We're going to have a great year at D-line for sure.
Throw you a little bit of curveball. What's one fun fact about you you'd like to share with Blizzard Nation?
Fun fact about me is I cut hair.
All right. Yeah. Team, do you have references? Who's you given the best haircut to on the team?
Sean Mustin.
He's got pretty good hair. Mm-hmm. He's got pretty good hair.
He crispy right now.
There we go. Well, awesome, Al. We appreciate your time and enjoy the bye week.
Yes,
and
sir.
We'll see you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, BJ, I do have to confirm. Sean Mustin, his hair, it's pretty clean. Alan has him right. So getting a chance to talk with these guys that they're coming back and getting to know a little bit more about them and seeing their personality, that's been really fun to see shine through in these segments. And again, we talked about it before. This is a close group, but the personalities have been really fun to get to know as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've been meshing on the field really well. Our D line has very much improved compared to last year. We're getting a lot more pressures. I don't know if our sack numbers have gone up, but it certainly feels like it.
For sure. And that's an exciting part about this group is again, we'll talk about this in the blueprint, not to get ahead of ourselves, but there's strengths, there's weaknesses, there's potential to reach. But before we get to that, let's talk about the forecast for this week. No Blizzard game, so we can kind of just go right into these 4 games that we have here in week 3. And we're starting off with a banger, a rematch of the Western Conference semifinal with San Diego going to Arizona. Needs say more, but we're going to say more. San Diego coming off the win against Northern Arizona, a tight one. You did allude to it, that one might be closer than most people thought, but Arizona, first game of their season, and suffice to say they've reloaded, BJ.
Yeah, much to our chagrin, right? Taken 3 of our guys, if I remember correctly. Yep. You've Max Myler, obviously, Kimo Clark, and Jake Parks on the O-line. Yeah. Arizona's going to be tough this year. Luckily, we don't have to play them unless we meet them in Tucson, but they're going to come out swinging. Obviously, Kevin Guy is going to put everything he can into this rematch. It's in Arizona. San Diego came off a great game, but they had some mistakes, right? Nate Davis, I think he had 1 or 2 interceptions. He had a fumble. So it'll be tuning up for San Diego. Arizona, obviously, first game of the season. There's jitters there, but this is a squad they're ranked really highly everywhere, and it's for good reason.
Yeah, this is Kevin Guy has been a really strong coach over the history of the IFL. Getting back to a championship, he won one the year before last year in 2024. Last year, falling short in the semifinals. I don't think he liked that taste in his mouth very, very well. I think he wants to get off on the right note. He wants to, number one, get this win against San Diego and get the ball rolling. I will roll with the Rattlers. Haven't seen much, but I think we have an idea of the talent level that they have across the board. I will roll with the Rattlers here in their first game of the season.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Rattlers as well, but I could see an upset just in the fact that San Diego's played a game already, and that's really big in the IFL is having the first game jitters out already.
First road trip for the Strike Force going to a tough barn at Arizona. The next one, Jacksonville at Northern Arizona in Prescott Valley. Jacksonville's first game of the season, and Naz coming off that tight loss against the Strike Force here this week. Where do we see these two teams? Talking about a game under their belt for Naz, where do we go into this week 3 matchup?
I'm going with Naz here. It might be kind of surprising, but they played a clean game yesterday. A couple, like I said, same thing with San Diego, a couple mistakes, a couple turnovers, but they looked good. It was a high scoring offensive game. Everyone was kind of clicking. There was, some mistakes for a first game, but they're just rolling. Plus, it's at home. Jacksonville, not a super big reload this year. A lot of new faces. They brought in James Cahoon from Iowa, who played really well despite a 1-15 record. It'll be interesting to see what he can do with a more experienced coaching staff and roster around him.
Yeah, and I don't want to go too chalk with you. I feel like we may be chalk a little bit, but I think I'm also going to go Naz. That game under their belt, it will be huge. Quickly here, jumping into Tulsa, San Antonio. I'll jump into it. These are the 2 first gamers that will be able to have that under their belt. Going to San Antonio, though, I do want to stick with Tulsa and get the win. If we want to talk about reloads, they've had a really successful reload.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, Tulsa, bringing back TJ Edwards, bring back everyone. Again, I'm not going to try to go super in depth, but these are 2 teams, despite being conference or not in the same conference, they've played each other so many times. They played each other, 3 times last year and the year before. Well experienced with each other. I'm going with Tulsa, even though it's in San Antonio. Tulsa's just got a better roster right now.
And then the last one, Vegas at Tucson. Vegas going back to the place where they won the IFL National Championship last year. They have a game under their belt. They had a bye week. a bit of a shorter bye week going into the bye than I think they might have hoped for, starting on Monday. But this was a Vegas team that felt like they had the talent when they came to Green Bay in week 1.
Yeah, Vegas is going to use that first game loss and really build on it. Tucson, their first game. I think it's going to be close, but I think Vegas is going to put up a good showing.
I will agree. I'm gonna go with Vegas. However, Tucson, I've been excited with. It kind of does feel like there's a bit of a revitalization, new ownership group. Rayshon Kaiser coming in as the head coach. He's had success winning as a head coach. I'm excited to see what they put together this season. I think that this is a squad that could make some noise. We talked about it making a push for that 4 seed. I think this is a team that very much is in the fold for that. But I'm going to pick Vegas here in week 3. Jump into our blueprint here, strengths and weaknesses for this Green Bay Blizzard team, because we don't have a game to preview, but we do have games to talk about and things to look at going forward. To start with one strength for you, BJ, that's really stood out for you.
I mean, we mentioned it earlier. It's the first half play, right? Our first half, both games have been some of the best football I've seen in years, honestly. That Vegas first game honestly left me dumbfounded after. I think I talked to you after the game. It was just like that first half was some of the best football I've seen us play, some of the cleanest football I've seen us play.
100%. And I think you saw that in the Fishers game too. It felt like things were all clicking on all fronts, offensively, defensively. Deep ball was clicking, pressure's getting there up front. That's the if you want the blueprint and the overarching blueprint we can look at for this team going forward, that is what you're looking for. Ultimately though, that is going to be, can you find a little bit more diversity in trying to find the big plays? Right now, it feels like the big plays, and here's my strength, is coming off the legs of Liam Thompson. You can quantify it because he's led the league in rushing for the first 2 weeks of the season. But for me, it has not been the quantity. It's been the quality of seeing him break tackles. He's a player that's not going to be denied anything when he takes off and runs and has to use his legs. We've seen it in the pocket, evading a 4-man rush, running for that touchdown against Vegas, which was the 20-yard score in the second quarter. That is obviously something that has got me really, really fired up for this Green Bay group, and really fired up to see what Liam Thompson can do at quarterback. We've seen it through 2 weeks. Can he continue that going in after the bye?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we go into Iowa next week, and obviously we're not going to talk about that game yet. But Liam's just been looking incredible so far. No complaints here. I'm not going to complain. A little bit of things to work on, right? It's this
we'll get into that
ever game, but I mean, that's fine. 6 rushing touchdowns, 5 passing touchdowns, could work in the passing game a little bit. Things had to shift in the second half. Last week, right? You have Nagy. Thank you. I can never, just doesn't roll off the tongue for me.
You'll get it.
Yeah, he went down early in the second quarter, and that kind of had to shift how our offensive play calling changed in the second half. I think that's why you saw the 8 for 20 stat you mentioned up earlier. Just things had to change, but we'll roll with it, and we're gonna have to. But that's the nice thing about a bye week right now is the bye week could not have come at a perfect time. You mentioned it in before. We had a lot of injuries last game. I think we had like 4 or 5 guys go down. A lot of arm injuries. Surprisingly, like Carter had an elbow injury. Nagy.
Yep.
He had an arm injury as well. But that's what the bye week's for. So, and we have 2 bye weeks, I believe, right? In the next 3 weeks, right? We go bye week, Iowa bye week, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right. Sure. Yeah. No. They're the road trip to Quad City after Iowa.
Oh, okay. I'm wrong. So, but bye week had a good time.
That personally for me, again, not really a quantity, but certainly you saw there at the end of that 2-game stretch in 5 days, injuries started to mount up at the end of that Fishers game. Bye week is coming at a good time. The guys seem in good spirits, but very much in need of some rest. Work still to be done, but for me, that is what's going to be most important is keeping this group healthy. BJ, try to wrap things up here with a couple more. Now, again, not to be too nitpicky, but it's the name of the game. What's some weaknesses, things you'd like to see things work on? You talked about the strength of the first half play.
It's the second half play, right? I can give you a number if you really want. We have 29 points in the first half on average, 15 in the second. Big difference there. I don't have a defensive stat numbers, but right, we're both halves. You could really feel the shift. This is a stat me and my dad have kind of talked about. Maybe not a number, but just a feeling, right? Our third quarter play the last decade has always seemed to kind of falter off a little bit. I don't know what happens after halftime or something, but third quarter always seems a little weaker, but then we bring it back in the fourth quarter. I think you've really seen that these last two games, a little falter in the third, but the fourth quarter, we're still winning games. So it doesn't matter how you get there as long as you win, right?
Yeah. Not to throw this in there. It's like watching the Milwaukee Bucks is a huge thing on Bucks Twitter. The third quarter Bucks, even since through winning the championship in 2021, you just expect the Bucks to come out in the third quarter and they're going to get outscored by like 5-10 points. It's just how it's going to go. I kind of agree that sentiment. I think it does kind of help that both Vegas and Fishers have gotten the ball to the second half and they've been down and they've been really desperate to make a comeback. So they have to score on that first drive and it keeps things going for those first couple series. But yeah, I think that's something that as you alluded to, trying to get that going is, and keep that momentum going from a really good first half. That has to continue going into the second half as well. We'll see how that goes going forward. We'll talk about that more next week when we preview the Iowa game for week 4, but that'll just about do it for the Cold Front podcast here in week 3. Really want to thank BJ for his time and his insights here as we get things going. BJ, anything quick before we wrap up?
No, I think I'm good. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think we just got to continue with it. We haven't found a better way to end things, but I don't think there is a better way to end things than I would argue the two best words in the IFL.
Go Blizz.